When the political situation in the world is heated to a threat, nuclear war, the richest people in the world are hiding in an underground bunker where they have to survive in a confined space. Series action, based on plans for the new year, starts with a brief backstory of Max Varela, a young major, son of billionaires. Since childhood he grew up side by side with a daughter of another billionaire's cheats and eventually fell in love with her. However, being a spoiled young man, unaware of grief, one fine day, stoned and clammin' Max gets in an accident, in which she dies. Guy found guilty in manslaughter and sent to jail. There he systematically and regularly snatches breams, and even takes a training course. Astronauts in the washing machine, deciding after this that he is cooler than Gagarin. Max rocks and gets involved in prison fights with no rules. First rule of Prison Fight Club: not arguing with Boyko. When the political situation in the world is sharply heated, Max is suddenly released for good behavior. On the way out he finds out what is this credit to his father Rafa, with which Guy difficult relationship. Dad tells that they have to urgently go to secret underground bunker, where already dug like potatoes in the spring. The rest of society's financial cream shelter is located in depth 275 meters, accommodates 45 families and has emergency supply of water chips. You don't have to go outside ahead of time. Inside already waiting for mom and grandma, also the Falcon family, father and sister of deceased and dad. Dad, come on, without prices, okay. During the conversation it turns out that Max after the accident ran away from the scene of the accident, leaving a girl to die. Believe me, I loved your sister more than life. You did not love her. If left her like this. At the first dinner together, guests are greeted by Minerva, organizer of this event, urging rich people not to piss ahead of time in overalls. If the outside situation settles down, they will be released promptly. Main, remember that you are safe. Max gives to Asia, to Sister Ain, her phone, which he took from the scene of the accident and kept in jail by secret method. Hours of Brus leak from crime fiction. When she looks through the last entries, Bunker suddenly acting like a radish. At the first serious sure. Splits. Rich within. Organized panic. Descend from the first tier down to the safe dome. There they look on the monitors as war breaks out on the surface and, like mushrooms after rain, growing nuclear mushrooms. To dilute the gloomy atmosphere, Rafa confesses to Falcon. What is it he advised his son to escape the scene of the accident, to simulate trauma and memory loss. However, at trial he changed his mind and testified that Max got behind the wheel in the usual state for a major, stoned and clammin'. So the father wanted to teach his son a lesson, that you have to answer for your actions. Since the connection to the surface is gone, Minerva's dressing up to volunteers outside to fix the antenna. Video cameras on their spacesuits broadcast on screens. Rich people see outside radioactive ash fire and destroyed bridge. After which the technicians hurry back until irradiated to potato level. Burnt corpses here. However, this record turns out to be a banal simulation to trick billionaires. With what Minerva congrats team. They bought completely. The world outside blooms and smells like nothing happened. Minerva indulges in memories, how organized along with mentally unstable but talented brother Given Scam, long before assembled the team, calculated a convincing performance in advance, including simulated shaking dust, panic cracks in the walls, elevator fall, on purpose. Hired filmmaker pre-built the scenery, filmed the scene of the foray into the radioactive and all zone, to convince a bunch of rich people to sit on the butt exactly and not twitch. Asia, sitting on the toilet, looks on Max's Vidosiki phone, addressed to her sister. Hearing the noise, she finds in the next cubicle, hanged from despair. A woman with the help of technology manages to remove it, and then resuscitate with the help of arrived staff. Julia, doctor in control center. Julia complains about nerves, that the situation is out of control. No one expected the supervision. The leader believes that everything goes according to plan, so if you're scared, shut your teeth and work. Team prepares new scene with makeup under. Fatally irradiated man. Rich people being sent back to living quarters, under the pretext of that seismic activity from nuclear bombing. Settled in the process, Frida, Max's mother, swears with his father and goes to live with his mother. Disappointed, Rafa wants to eat grief, but the cafeteria refused to serve him. At an unscheduled hour, When Rafa grabs food on his own, comes the security guard Yako. Max stands up for Batya, applying prison skills. Minerva recalls the guards who arrived to the rescue, so as not to create unnecessary rustle. But Max leaves his trophy stun gun, continuing to stare at Max's stories. Asia understands that gradually falls in love with the dead sister's Hale. Her wet fantasy in the shower is interrupted by security asking for Mimi. Stepmom Asia pass in Honey Park. There gathered a few people with the right blood type for irradiated. This is part of a planned play. They are given a peek at the sick, as if by accident, without negotiating at the same time. What is going on? Asia follows his stepmother, and Max follows her. They are trying to understand what is going on, but instead a little fight. When donors are released from the medical unit, those spread rumors about radiation contamination, fueling depressed moods. In a rush of negative emotions, Asia throws her sister's phone in the garbage disposal. However, Huli does not like what is happening. She feels guilty for manipulating the poor, the unhappy billionaires. Minerva tries to calm her down. Mal Huli, I don't you like Huli? But the doctor says that wants to leave the project and return to honest, Esculapian work. Looking how I perform fake surgery on a grime guy. Not for that I became a doctor. Minerva's brother Zero notices that the doctor is nervous and brings her a sedative. She refuses to drink pills. Then the young man pushes her down from the bridge. From her injuries, Julia died on the spot. Morning, bunker workers find dead doctor's body. Zero tells that she threw herself downstairs from despair and a panic attack. He saw on the security cameras. One of the project participants wants to personally look at the recording for the company of people. Staged a grand deception of the rich. He's too distrustful. Without figuring out how to excuse, Zira turns on recording. On her, Huli climbs on the railing of the bridge and jumps down. Memory's nerves are transferred to the past, when she was only convincing her team, join them, with brother full of righteous anger, caused by class inequality. They want to expropriate the property of the rich. Why did they come up with the idea with a bunker under Roxanne control? Artificial intelligence, created by Zero Roxanne, opened the door. And that no one in the outside world searches for the missing. Organizers told them to record a message, as if going on indefinite vacation, tired of the hustle and bustle. Also team's nerves, having access to the participant's phone. Tracks calls, 24-hour video surveillance, lets Roxanne copy voices and looks. Bunker residents. Even the dead Julia operating room recreates in the smallest detail. Organizers use these technologies to answer the asphalt to the manager of the company, Guillermo Falcone. Roxanne, you should answer asphalt. What could Guillermo tell him? Minerva organizes a wake for the imaginary to the irradiated volunteer and the deceased truly Huli, reporting that they moved to permanent standby mode. Woman resembles that the products are now rationed. Older younger Vorals get reprimanded, having a brawl in the cafeteria. Also, the supervisor tells Max to return the squeeze from Yako. Shocker, Nasia by girl habit changed her mind and wants her discarded phone back. She under plausible pretext asks the worker take her to the final garbage disposal, to which he carelessly agrees. Picking out in the trash, they notice how the crease press turns on, as always at the most opportune moment. Worker notices that girl instead of memorial chain took her phone, to which she confesses everything and talks about his uncertain feelings for Max. Worker advises either ignore that, either accept that he killed her sister. When Max didn't bring back the shocker, Minerva sends Yako to him. Guys meet at the gym, where between them is tied necessary for drama, but totally ridiculous in terms of security fight. They beat each other to bloody snot, until a colleague distracts Yako's attention. Then Max punches the cutting uppercut. In such a bloody form, Asia finds him, remembering for years of medical school. Asia trying to straighten Max's sprained arm. Yako is being taken on a gurney to the medical unit. He never comes to his senses. Employees believe, what is he dying from injury? Minerva is forced to turn to Asia, like to the only one left. A person with medical education and experience is right. Picked up by injection, she manages to return the guards. Feelings Minerva causes Max to himself to be charged with murder. Immediately calmed down, Yako pumped out, she takes the shocker from him, finally testing the device on the intruder. Of calm, then tells the other guard to take Kazi. To that sewed up the broken head. In the process, lust rolls up on the girl and she leaves. The guy goes after to find out what's going on. Asia says that hates him and immediately rushes to kiss. But the last thing happens in her fantasies. Actually, she leaves after these words. To entertain bored billionaires and not give them time to reflect, organizers invite owners, foreign languages in a secret radio room, where offered to try to contact other survivors. This is all part of a pre-planned program. Radios are disabled, even when grief radio operators get an answer. They say bunker employees from the other room. Everything to keep the inhabitants of the bunker in good shape. Ran out of fuel, I beg. Let us sit down. Take pity on us. Also an asylum. Organize a psychological assistance group. Rafa at her meeting complaining of longing after leaving his wife. Guillermo suddenly backs him up, calling his last remaining friend the rest. How does he think? Died in a nuclear war fire. And good still. If cars did not rise from the ashes of nuclear fire, buy your friends a place in the bunker. Spending a tiny fraction of your money could save them, turns out as well. That Rafa surrendered his son at the request of Guillermo. He wanted revenge on him for killing his daughter. Later, Guillermo convinces the employee open a bar for them and join the company, along with Elena, woman, trying to pretend to be a Christmas tree toy in the toilet. Everything to cheer a friend up. He is sure that the only chance to return Frida, let her feel the male, which other females peck at. So to speak, the spirit of rivalry in all its glory. Minerva reports that Oswald persistently calls Guillermo, threatening to personally fly to him on vacation. They have an important case ticked, which they waited 20 years for. Not to provoke the search for a billionaire, a woman commands to launch a video call with the businessman, using a generated Roxanne digital clone of Guillermo. Did the coconut fall on your head or what? Come quickly. With his help, they convince Oswalda that the boss is more important now. Establish a personal relationship with a new wife, rather than solving work cases. They interrupt the conversation when it comes to something called BJ3. Minerva is worried that her carefully crafted plan may be covered up, because they do not know what is BJ3. While Roxanne analyzes the data, woman remembers how their mother abandoned them with their brother as a child. Looking around the orphanages, they leaned on studying. When Minerva became an architect, working on billion-dollar projects, she was getting mere pennies. Then in it and La Grilla, sung by Karl Marx. Class dislike. Only he offered to hide the rich not so deep, underground by only 2 meters. Roxanne manages to understand that we are talking about the tribal stallion BJ3, expensive thoroughbred horse, and favorite pet Pachi in Shane, which business partner wants to get as a bonus. However, for the Oswald deal, you need a passport for a horse, and it is not stored in fog at all, and in the safe the code from which only Guillermo knows. Another call ends with a contract. Call tomorrow and open the box together. During this time, Minerva needs to know the code. She commands the Ingrid masseuse open for the rich man Barva, so that it did not reveal him. At this time, Max in gym, where was the fight, finds a dropped out earphone Yako. Putting it on, he understands that asylum officers are bugging guests. Turn off, turn off. Immediately the sent girl Cindy appears. To pick up the device, Max refers to her appearance with a security camera. They're all under Big Bro's relentless cap. Cindy takes the guy to the infirmary to treat an untreated wound. Along the way they meet Asia, that checked the injured guard, who in a fit of clarity asked her out. Guy gives way to girl. From what that sadness tears in his eyes, she asks the worker tears to hug her for reassurance. Ingrid in the bar with alcohol and female charm starts spinning the billionaire on candor. Conversation interrupts Max's appearance, pumping medical alcohol in the hospital for disinfection. He demands the continuation of the banquet. Guillermo doesn't like the neighborhood with the daughter killer, and he leaves. Obeying the order of the boss, Ingrid goes after him to offer privacy in a separate office. Couple notices Fried and reports to Mimi about her husband's cheating. Grabbing Grandma Victoria, women's battalion goes to showdown. Minerva turns off the electricity to break them in the elevator, and by time, hurrying parallel Ingrid. Masseuse offers billionaire play a game of truth and lies. She's asking questions. He writes the truth on a piece of paper, and she says any answer. To she guess, did he lie or not? With the help of prompts, through headphones and video cameras, Ingrid will know for a few questions. Code from billionaire safe. When he reaches for the promised kiss, Mimi breaks into the office to have a boring argument without bashing. Muzzles dishes so whined and sold out. Disappointed with that everything broke, Guillermo goes to the apartment, where finds Asia with sister phone. Realizing that this is Max gave her a device, the man goes to him to sort things out, unequivocally hinting that his daughter and wife died because of him, billionaire beating guy, so that he does not approach the last woman in his family. The fight is stopped by hitting the head with a vase. Frida breaks up man. When Sun leaves, she suddenly kisses Guillermo. It turns out they have been muddying with each other for 20 years, periodically distracted by legal spouses and others, lovers and mistresses, morning teams. Nerves calls up with arrived at the Falco mansion. On the asphalt it turns out that named Guillermo cat is 1 digit smaller. Then you need does not have time. Roxanne via digital decoy to dictate the password. How the interlocutor understands what it's his goddaughter birthday. She bunker cheaters celebrate first major success. One of many planned. I won't forget goddaughter birthday. The billionaire himself is snuggling at the spy at this time. With Frida they have a relationship, long as half of the Santa Barbara series. At this time Mimi, going through a breakup with her husband, feels really bad. She goes down the elevator to the safe dome, where falling with no feelings. There are guards finding her on the cameras and bring to the medical center, where also the name of Asia going through an argument with Max. Max himself at this time they ask Roxanne, doesn't she follow him? Currently I don't have that feature, but I can hear you. What can I help? Receiving a negative response, he quietly takes scissors out of the bathroom to under the blanket try to get the bracelet off. After failing in this difficult case, a guy visits Minerva in the office. He wants to discuss security cameras and microphones in bracelets on what the head of the bunker says, that its task is to ensure the safety of all guests. For what the most violent like him will have to suffer some inconvenience. Asia inspecting Mimi. With the help of analyzes and a database, she manages to diagnose her with a rare liver disease. The only chance of salvation is dialysis, artificial blood purification procedure. But there's no equipment in the dungeon for him. If alternative medication does not help, then the stepmother has no more than 3 days left to live. Being self-conscious, Mimi asks Asia not to let her father see her. They fell out. Daughter dutifully asks dad not to enter the ward. With grief he goes to the tavern, where already thumping Max. Man remembering Frida's request, apologizes to him for fighting and tells that Mimi at death. The guy valiantly promises to come up with something, after which goes to Asia to talk in private. Couple retires in a secluded place, where the conversation starts. In words they talk about that they are relentlessly attracted to each other, like Ketchunsk to dumplings. But it's actually cheating for eavesdropping on a conversation. Guards prepared inscriptions on pieces of paper. Guy asks girlfriend to help him. He wants to go to the hospital, a few kilometers from the bunker, to get a dialysis machine. But for this you need to cheat the whole security system. What does he need her help in? They agree to meet later at his apartment to discuss details. At this time the asphalt flies to Hong Kong, on behalf of the generated and edge alarm by a shell firm. It was created by Minerva with colleagues to through such shenanigans get Falcon Company finances through a network of 93 companies, which will provide an influx of money from around the world. Falcon himself is dating Frida at this time. Woman speaks that ready to translate their relationship from secret to open plain. However, Guillermo is not ready. In his value system, friendship with Ruffa stands slightly higher than intim with the wife of a friend. Not to offend that lover refuses to betray the eyes of their bond. In retaliation, Frida says what we'll do without him and seduces Yako right in front of his exhale. At this time Max asks for his father vacate the apartment for a date with Asia. Leaving man confesses that handed him over to jail to protect. Otherwise, Guillermo threatened to hire guys from another neighborhood so that they inflicted on him incompatible with life damage. Asia allows sick Mimi to leave the ward to Victoria apartment, whereas the boyke and the old lady, with the help of a personal nurse, pumps her with morphine prescribed for pain caused by cancer. Well, I don't need a life in which I can't afford a lobster. No matter how much acid mouths, there was no acid. The girl herself visits Max. They are hanging the camera Roxanne and tied to speaker bracelets to drown out the music conversation. Max tells the plan: distract security, get out, chase after the dialysis machine and save everyone. To crank it you need to cut down Roxanne. For this he wants to punch hole in the wall and close the wiring. Later, armed with the necessary tools, couple proceeds to surgery, break the bunker with improvised means. Then Max takes out of the resulting wiring holes and cleans for closure. Oswaldo calls digital Guillermo from the office. front company, which allegedly bought some Italian. In his role as a deceased employee of radiation. Minerva's at this point Roxanne turns off from circuiting. Bunker will de-energize. A businessman sees instead of boss on the screen unknown logo. What makes you think? And what is it going on here like this? Checking on the first circuit. What specific time? Need the system to reboot. Conspirators neatly seal the hole. Then proceed to the next phase of the operation. They go to Yako to simulate an argument based on jealousy. While Max swears with the security guard, Asia steals a pair of headphones for communication. However, Yako confesses to Exiku. That did not play Dota, but his mother took him to the theater. At Max rips off the bar girl. Barely manages to pull it off. The guy goes to his mother to find out the relationship regarding her marital status and moral principles. Weightless lightness, he learns that 28 years twists Shashnev with Guillermo. Information knocks Max out of his rut. In this scenario, there is a chance that he even has to be the brother of his dead girlfriend. She in general. Boy swam like a bug on the waves, putting the whole operation in jeopardy. Asia manages to bring him to his senses, but without kissing, with notes of potential incest. Max tells his father that the mother cheated on him. At this time, Guillermo finds Victoria seduced drugged Mimi and goes to a friend to complain about his mother-in-law. In response, he asks to talk to Frida, which Guillermo has known longer than him. She's back in the family. However, conversation in the toilet flows into light BDM with elements of humiliation. Why is RAF watching outside? On his way out, he confesses to a friend that before his wife died, told her about many of his mistresses. Minerva, with comrades, are having an operation to frown the asphalt, not letting him sleep after the flight. They, under the guise of a boss, send a businessman to a restaurant. There is already waiting for prepared Ingrid to interest a single man. A little charm and alcohol. And here they go to the club, where drug doses are connected to the promotion of the match. Favorite music and specially hired extras. Magical night in the company of an exotic beauty. Ends in hotel room. Where is the girl from suddenly getting a call from her parents? In the bunker, Asia and Max cause plumber to eliminate the blockage. When Tirsa stays, the conspirators put him to sleep with a shot of sleeping changing pills into an orange worker jumpsuit. A girl infiltrates a household chemicals warehouse, where is poking the ingredients for the homemade bomb from. This useful skill in medical courses teach all the daughters of billionaires. Then they make a kettle-based explosive device. So to speak, boils our mind. Outraged hangover asphalt. Under the pressure of lies, Guillermo goes to make a deal. The plan is quite successful. After which the businessman is escorted to a private plane. Minerva, with comrades, celebrate the first victory of the proletariat over the bourgeois when the power goes off in the bunker first. And then there's an explosion in the server room, dusting the hallway with fire extinguishers to create a panic effect. Max and Asia making their way to disguise. From prying eyes, emergency stairs, wearing headphone, guy sneaking upstairs, and the girl goes back to the room to plug the hole and eliminate the evidence. But she doesn't have time. Yako visits the apartment with specially issued firearm. He sees a sleeping janitor and at gunpoint wants to take the girl away for questioning. But then Minerva appears and asks Asia to pump out Mimi. Morphine and alcohol finally finished her off. Girl trying to resuscitate stepmom, but the efficiency of all effort is zero. In a bank of asphalt from of the plane sees a poster with a familiar face. Actress portrayed his knightly girlfriend's grandmother. Suspecting something was wrong, he Googles her online, but the scam team already cleaned everything. Pages in social network, website of the company and dummy nightclub. In panic, he commands the pilot, make a 360-degree turn, and then another 180 and come back. Oswaldo runs to company office, where in the morning transferred $900 million, but they're already empty. Only single cleaners sweep away traces of disappointment. Then calling boss to report the situation, but during the conversation suspects that he is bred by some unrest fake. He's threatening to go to the police. Since Minerva, this hype is not needed. She tells the team to eliminate the object and to henchmen in the crowd gently eliminate. Become unnecessary businessman. Breaking his neck fugitive. Dressed in a protective suit. Takes the elevator to the exit. Near steel door, Asia through headphone reports that Mimi is dead and he has nothing to risk with himself. Max confesses that he wants to come out, dumping from hated relatives, and feel like a Fallout hero. He opens doors. Outside hits a dazzling bright light. This is where the series ends.